Well, as you know, last week we released our latest book, this one written by Coach Linda Blade and Barbara Kay. It's called Unsporting: How Trans Activism and Science Denial Are Destroying Sport. It's part of a trend of stories since transgenderism has really taken the world by storm in the last 5 years. And by world, I mean, I think the decadent West. I mean, whether it's Caitlyn Jenner or Jonathan Yaniv, a male to female transgender, who has literally harassed so many immigrant women to Vancouver, demanding that they wax his private parts and then taking them to the Human Rights Tribunal when they won't touch them. So many crazy stories. And one of the themes is, you're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to dispute it. You're not even, in some cases, allowed to know about it. And that's the subject of our interview today, because there is a case in British Columbia dealing with a father and his own born female daughter who has transitioned to calling herself a boy. And we can't even tell you the name of the man. The name of the case is A, B, and CD. That's all the courts will say. The father himself is not allowed to even call his daughter a daughter. And here's the crazy part. The rest of us have been banned from talking about it under pain of contempt of court. Now, this just isn't right. We believe in open courts in a free country. I think other journalists might have been miffed by it, but only Rebel News did something about it. Our reporter on the ground, Drea Humphrey, joins us now. Coming home from the court there, Drea, we challenged the nature of the publication bans. There were many of them. Can you explain for our viewers a little bit of the background? First of all, did I get my facts right when I explained A, B, C, D and what was going on there?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that I believe the order that did prohibit him from, misgendering his own child and referring to his own child as a daughter is no longer an order that's in stand date.
Got it. So that was an order, but
yeah.
Am I correct? So, I mean, to me,
yeah.
That's just nutty, shows how crazy things are. Now, we went to court, we hired a lawyer in Vancouver because we were just trying to talk about this, and we couldn't even find out about the publication bans. The publication bans themselves were secret.
Isn't that crazy? They were secret. There was way too many of them. It was quite a tangled mess. You have this case that is of international interest. Everybody and their dog is reporting the facts across, whether it be in the US all the way to Japan. Then you have me right here, boots on the ground, getting the last interview with the father just before he's arrested in courts. And I have to tiptoe and walk on eggshells on how much of the other side I can even give to you guys. Otherwise, I could end up behind bars myself. So that was the reality of just how stringent these secret bans have made it to be able to bring you guys the other side of the story. So we had to do something about it. Even though, as you mentioned, with the Yaniv case and other reports that I've done, it seems like these bans conveniently get used in cases where transgender people, in this case, a child transitioning without the consent of their parent. Whenever there's activist lawyers involved and things like that, these bans tend to get used, and it's harder to get the story out for sure.
Yeah. Now, other reporters have talked about this case. I think in other cases, media companies much bigger than ours, much richer than ours, in many cases owned by billion-dollar companies or getting huge payouts by the Trudeau government, they go to court to fight publication bans when it's something that their liberal worldview demands. We were the only media company in all of Vancouver, and there's a lot of media out there. There's radio, there's TV, there's newspapers, there's magazines, there's websites. Vancouver is a very healthy media. Is it true that we were the only news outlet that went to court and said, Your Honor, this doesn't make sense. You've got to figure this out. You've got to clear this up. You've got to make sense of this. You can't have secret publication bans. Were we the only people in court asking for this?
Absolutely. And you might be shocked to hear it, but Justice Taman actually thanked us for bringing this matter to the courts. So that's what Rebel News did on behalf of all media, the media that you mentioned. that, gets funded, or I should say funds from the government, didn't take the stand, but we did.
So you're saying the judge who heard our request actually thanked us for bringing, he wasn't aware, this was a judge, I presume, who wasn't aware of all the problems? Is that what you're saying?
No, Justice Taman has been involved, heavily involved in the railings, and I have seen him be asked by CD's former counsel to make things more understandable for the media. So I don't think it's that he's necessarily was unaware of this, but he was basically thanking us for going ahead and trying to do something about it, because it was problematic, and he did acknowledge how important this issue was for both the public as well as for the media.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.